This is weird and disgusting behaviors of an aging narcissist. Have you ever watched someone who once seemed untouchable slowly begin to fall apart? Have you seen the mask slip? Not all at once, but in small, unsettling ways until suddenly they're no longer charming or powerful, just desperate and strange. If you've had any kind of relationship with a narcissist, whether romantic, familial, or professional, you know how deeply manipulative they can be. They thrive on control, admiration, and emotional dominance. But what happens when time starts catching up to them? When their looks fade, their charm wears thin, their lies become harder to maintain. Because here's something most people don't talk about. As narcissists age, they often become more disturbed, more unhinged, and more dangerous than ever before. And it's not just because they get meaner. It's because they finally face the truth they spent a lifetime avoiding. So if you're ready to uncover the weird, disgusting, and disturbing behaviors of aging narcissists, and why their decline is far from graceful, then keep watching, because today we're diving deep into the psychology behind this transformation, revealing how narcissists lose their grip on reality and turn into something truly unsettling. And if this resonates with your own experiences, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content on emotional healing, personality disorders, and reclaiming your life after toxic relationships. Let's get started. Let's begin by addressing something most people misunderstand. Narcissism doesn't mature with age. It decays. Unlike emotionally healthy individuals who grow wiser, calmer, and more self-aware over time, narcissists often go in the opposite direction. As they age, they begin losing the things they relied on for power, youth, beauty, social relevance, and physical energy. And instead of adapting, they panic. They double down on manipulation. They rewrite history. They chase younger sources of validation. They fight aging like it's an enemy. And in doing so, they reveal sides of themselves that are not only bizarre but deeply disturbing. Because narcissistic decay is not pretty. It's not peaceful. It's not wise. It's twisted. It's lonely. And it's often filled with rage. Now let's talk about the first disturbing behavior of an aging narcissist. They obsess over their appearance in unhealthy, unnatural ways. While most people accept the signs of aging gracefully, or at least privately, an aging narcissist becomes obsessed, not just with looking good, but with defying time itself. They may undergo extreme plastic surgery, inject fillers until their face is frozen, wear clothes decades too young for them, obsess over gym routines, diet fads, or cosmetic procedures like they're chasing immortality. But here's the catch. They don't do it for health or happiness. They do it for control, for attention, for ego. Because to a narcissist, being admired isn't just a bonus, it's oxygen. And the moment people stop complimenting their looks, they start panicking. Because they realize they're fading. And for someone who built their entire identity around external validation, that realization is unbearable. 2. They rewrite their past to hide failure. Aging narcissists often struggle with their legacy. They look back and see broken relationships, discarded lovers, estranged children, and fading influence. And instead of facing it, they rewrite history. Suddenly, they were never the one who caused pain. Suddenly, everyone else abandoned them. Suddenly, they always gave love unconditionally, even though they never did. And they tell these stories, not just to others, but to themselves. Because the older they get, the more fragile their false self becomes. The more desperately they need to believe they were the victim, not the villain. And those around them begin to hear the same tired excuses over and over again. I was always misunderstood. No one appreciated me. I gave everything and got nothing in return. And if you listen long enough, you realize they've been telling the same story since the beginning. Only now, there are fewer people left to believe them. 3. They hoard memories of past victims like trophies. Many narcissists collect emotional trophies, people who once gave them admiration, affection, or loyalty. And as they age, they revisit these memories, like old movies. They reread text messages, scroll through old photos, listen to voice notes, even stalk former partners online. Why? because they want to relive the moments when they felt powerful, when they felt loved, when they felt needed. And if they can't find real admiration in the present, they manufacture it in the past. Because for a narcissist, nostalgia isn't about warmth. It's about survival. It's about clinging to the illusion that they were once adored, even if it wasn't real. 4. They become increasingly paranoid about betrayal. As they age, narcissists begin noticing subtle shifts in how people treat them. Friends pull away. Children distance themselves. Romantic partners question their motives. And instead of seeing it as natural consequences, they assume conspiracy. They're talking about me behind my back. Someone is trying to erase me. My ex is still trying to destroy me. They live in constant fear of exposure, of being forgotten, of being replaced. And the older they get, the louder that paranoia grows, because they can no longer charm everyone, can no longer impress everyone, can no longer fool everyone. And that loss of control makes them unstable. Because narcissists don't just fear aging, they fear irrelevance. And for them, irrelevance is death. They project their insecurities onto others, especially younger people. One of the most unsettling things about aging narcissists is how they view younger generations. They either try to seduce them, manipulate them, or tear them down. They accuse younger people of being lazy, shallow, ungrateful. They compare themselves to the youth, always coming out on top in their minds. Because narcissists can't tolerate being outshone, especially not by someone half their age. And when they see beauty, success, or charisma in younger people, they feel threatened. So they attack. Not directly. No, they twist words, undermine confidence, turn people against each other, because they refuse to acknowledge that the world is moving on without them. And that refusal leads to bitterness, to jealousy, to disgust, because they can't handle being second best, especially not now. 6. They become obsessed with legacy and image. As they approach later stages of life, many narcissists become fixated on how they'll be remembered. Will people praise them? Will they be missed? Will they be admired forever? And if they sense their reputation slipping, they take action. They write fake reviews, fabricate stories, pretend to be generous, pose for pictures that make them look successful, or even create new identities to escape the failures of their past. Because they cannot bear the idea of being forgotten. They want to be immortalized through money, fame, or even family. But the deeper issue is clear. Their obsession isn't about legacy. It's about fear. Fear that no one will remember them. Fear that no one truly loved them. Fear that their life was meaningless. And that fear turns them into something truly sad. 7. They become more aggressive in their manipulation tactics. In their youth, narcissists used charm, flattery, and emotional games to get what they wanted. But as they age, those tactics become less effective. People aren't fooled as easily. Younger generations don't buy their act. Old friends walk away. So they switch gears. They start accusing, blaming, lashing out. They call former victims liars, accuse loved ones of betrayal, make dramatic claims about being mistreated, even when they're the ones who caused the damage, because they can't afford to be seen as weak. And aggression is the only thing that reminds them they still have power. Even if that power is built on fear, even if that power is crumbling, even if no one believes them anymore, they still fight to maintain it. Because giving it up means confronting their true selves. And that's something they'll never allow. 8. They suffer severe identity confusion. Narcissists spend their lives building a false self, an image so carefully curated that it hides their true nature. But as they age, that false self begins to crack. They notice the lies piling up, the inconsistencies in their stories, the way people look at them differently now, and that shift terrifies them. Because they don't know who they really are. They never did. Their entire life has been performance, image, control, and now, they're standing in front of the mirror, older, weaker, and completely lost. Because beneath the mask there's nothing. Just emptiness. Just insecurity. Just silence. and that silence is the loudest sound they've ever heard. 9. They isolate themselves more yet demand more attention. Ironically, aging narcissists often push people away while demanding more admiration. They criticize their children, distrust their spouses, question their friendships, and yet, when they find themselves alone, they beg for company. They call old flames, reach out to former victims, show up unexpectedly at family gatherings, because they need reassurance. They need someone, anyone, to remind them they still matter. And when no one answers their call, they grow bitter, because they realize something horrifying. The people who once played along with their game are gone, and no one is buying the act anymore. 10. They spiral into self-destructive habits. With fewer people willing to admire them, many aging narcissists turn to destructive coping mechanisms. They abuse substances, gamble recklessly, engage in risky sexual behavior, or simply withdraw into isolation. Because they can't handle being ignored, and when they can't find admiration anywhere else, they numb the pain with whatever they can find. Some drink to forget. Some bury themselves in work. Some retreat into fantasy. But none of it works, because addiction doesn't restore youth. Work doesn't replace connection. Fantasy doesn't erase loneliness. And eventually, they begin to unravel, because the only thing keeping them together was the belief that they mattered. And now, they realize they don't. At least, not in the way they thought they did. 11. They blame their children for failing to honor them. Nothing is more heartbreaking than watching adult children walk away from a narcissistic parent, because the moment they leave, the narcissist begins rewriting the story. Suddenly, they're the victim. They never respected me. They forgot everything I did for them. They turned their backs on me. And the deeper they fall into resentment, the uglier they become. They post passive-aggressive messages online, talk badly about their kids to mutual friends, try to triangulate siblings, create drama just to stay relevant. Because to a narcissist, being forgotten by their own flesh and blood is the ultimate punishment. And they won't accept it quietly. They'll lash out, manipulate, rewrite history, until no one listens anymore. Until even their own children stop responding. And then, they're left alone. Exactly where they don't want to be. 12. They rewrite their parenting style to paint themselves as heroes. When narcissistic parents age, they often start rewriting their version of parenthood. They claim they sacrificed everything for their children, that they were always supportive, always loving, always generous. But those who grew up under their control know the truth. They controlled, criticized, abused. They compared their children to others, made them feel unworthy, forced them to earn love through performance. And now, they expect gratitude. For what? For years of emotional instability? For a childhood filled with gaslighting? For a life shaped by fear and manipulation? Of course, the children don't give it. And that rejection cuts deeper than any confrontation could ever do, because the only person who could validate their false narrative walks away. And suddenly, their story falls apart.
13. They begin acting out sexually in disturbing ways.
As they lose their youthful appeal, some aging narcissists begin acting out in inappropriate, even offensive ways. They flirt with younger people, make crude jokes, send unsolicited messages, or engage in affairs with people half their age. And when confronted, they laugh it off, claim it's harmless, say they're just having fun. But the truth is darker, because they're not just seeking pleasure. They're trying to prove they're still attractive, still powerful, still desirable. And when they fail to convince others, they seek anyone who might believe the lie, even if it's someone vulnerable, because to a narcissist, any attention is better than none. And that desperation becomes truly disturbing. 14. They develop intense envy toward the young. One of the most painful truths about narcissists is that they never learn to celebrate others. And as they age, that envy only grows stronger. They watch young people succeed, fall in love, build families, start businesses. And instead of feeling proud, they feel hatred. because they know they wasted their youth on control, on lies, on manipulation. And now, they're watching the next generation enjoy what they never did, and that knowledge eats at them. Because they don't just envy success, they envy peace, joy, authenticity, all the things they never truly had. And now, they can't stand seeing it in others. They become more physically controlling. As their emotional grip loosens, many aging narcissists turn to physical control. They monitor who visits their home, who talks to their spouse, who interacts with their children. They check phones, read messages, track movements, and if they feel betrayed in the slightest way, they retaliate. Because they can't stand the idea of being ignored, of being replaced, of being overlooked. And when they can no longer win people over with charm, they resort to surveillance. Because control is the only thing that gives them comfort. And when they lose that control, they become unhinged. 16. They become obsessed with their health, but not in a healthy way. Many aging narcissists develop a fixation on their health, but unlike others who focus on wellness, they focus on illness. They constantly complain, exaggerate symptoms, dramatize every minor ache, and they use it to gain sympathy. I'm dying. No one cares about me anymore. If I die tomorrow, no one would miss me. These statements aren't about health. They're about guilt-tripping, about manipulation, about forcing people to pay attention. And if you're close to an aging narcissist, you'll hear these lines repeatedly, because they need someone to witness their suffering, even if it's all in their head. 17. They suffer chronic loneliness and refuse to admit it. Despite their bravado, aging narcissists often live in deep, persistent loneliness because they burned bridges, pushed people away, built relationships based on control, not connection, and now they're surrounded by silence. No one calls, no one visits, no one remembers their birthdays, and instead of admitting fault, they blame everyone else because they can't face the truth, that their life was empty, that they never formed real bonds, that their presence meant little to others, and that absence hurts more than they'll ever admit, because the older they get, the more obvious it becomes. They lived a life built on deception, and now they're reaping the harvest. 18. They become increasingly cruel to those closest to them. With fewer people left to feed their ego, many aging narcissists grow harsher toward those who remain. They snap at their partner, insult their children, undermine their siblings. They say cruel things in private that they'd never dare say in public, because they feel entitled to respect, love, and admiration, even when they gave none in return. And when they don't receive it, they punish. They cut people out, withhold affection, refuse support. Because to a narcissist, love is transactional. And if they don't get what they want, they destroy what they have. 19. They rewrite history with their current partners to justify bad behavior. An aging narcissist may still have a partner, but not because they're loyal, not because they're loving. No, they stay with someone because they need supply, someone to cook, clean, listen, and support their fragile ego. And when that partner tries to leave, the narcissist retaliates. They rewrite history. Suddenly, they were the ones who gave everything, who tolerated disrespect, who stayed through hardship, and now they're the victim of abandonment, even though they've discarded dozens before. And the more they tell that story, the more they believe it. Because narcissists don't learn from experience. They invent new narratives, and they cling to them like life rafts, even when the water is rising. 20. They become obsessed with their mortality and terrified of being forgotten. As they reach their final years, many narcissists begin questioning their legacy. Did they leave anything behind? Did they make an impact? Will anyone remember them after they're gone? And instead of accepting that legacy is earned through kindness, integrity, and love, they try to force it. They write books that no one reads, record videos that no one watches, host events that no one attends, because they want to be remembered, admired, praised. But here's the problem. They never gave real love, never showed real compassion, never offered real support. So when they ask for remembrance, they're met with silence, because no one wants to hold on to the memory of someone who only took, and that silence is deafening. They begin making disturbing comparisons between themselves and others. Aging narcissists rarely measure themselves against their own growth or lack thereof. Instead, they compare themselves to everyone else. You think you're better than me? I've done more than you'll ever do. I've loved more than you ever will. They speak like they're still in competition, like they're still the center of attention, like they're still invincible. But the truth is, they're not even close, because their comparisons are hollow, their accomplishments exaggerated, their love non-existent, and the people around them begin to see through it. Because narcissists don't age gracefully, they age bitterly, and that bitterness leaks out in every conversation, every interaction, every comparison, and it becomes impossible to ignore. 22. They suffer from increasing paranoia and suspicion. Left alone with their thoughts, aging narcissists often spiral into distrust. They suspect betrayal everywhere, from their lover, from their children, from their friends. They reinterpret old conversations, reread texts, rewatch interactions, searching for proof that someone talked about them behind their back. And when they find nothing, they make it up. Because they can't handle being invisible. They can't accept being irrelevant. And when they realize people no longer care what they think, they become unhinged. Because they spent their entire lives hiding behind charm and confidence. Now they're facing the terrifying truth. No one believes their act anymore, and that disbelief haunts them. 23. They start disappearing from people's lives, only to reappear dramatically. After years of pushing people away, many aging narcissists vanish. They stop calling, stop showing up, stop pretending, and for a while the world breathes easier. But then they come back, not to apologize, not to reconnect. No. They come back to remind you they still exist. They send unexpected messages, show up at family events, post cryptic updates online, and when they do, they act like nothing ever happened. Like they didn't disappear. Like they didn't hurt you. Like they weren't the reason people walked away. And that denial becomes the most disgusting part of all. Because they don't care about reconciliation. They only care about being seen. Even if it's through the cracks of their crumbling facade. They become obsessed with being praised for things they didn't do. As their life fades, many narcissists start taking credit for things they never accomplished. They claim they raised perfect children, despite being emotionally absent. They insist they were the best partner ever, even when everyone knows the truth. They exaggerate their career achievements, twist the facts, lie about their contributions, because they can't face the reality that their life was shallow, that they never truly touched anyone, that their existence was more about control than connection. And so, they rewrite their role in everyone's life, including yours. And when you don't play along, they discard you too. Because to a narcissist, the truth is only valuable if it serves their ego. They begin to lose their grip on reality. Perhaps the most disturbing behavior of an aging narcissist is the slow detachment from reality. They start forgetting things, distorting memories, losing track of time, and instead of accepting responsibility, they double down on delusion. They rewrite the past, deny the present, refuse the future, and the older they get, the more unhinged they become, because they can't hold on to the lie anymore. The world sees through them. Their children walk away, their lovers leave, their friends disappear, and the narcissist is left with one final crushing truth. They were never as powerful as they believed. And now, they're running out of time to pretend otherwise. 26. They begin to suffer the consequences of a life built on lies. Here's the final truth. Narcissists don't change. They just run out of people to fool. And as they age, the pattern becomes undeniable. They isolated their family, broke trust with friends, ruined careers, lost lovers, and now they're standing in the wreckage of their own making. No one to defend them, no one to protect their image, no one to carry their weight. And when they finally realize they're alone, not because of betrayal, but because of their choices, It destroys them. Because narcissists can't survive in a vacuum. And now that vacuum surrounds them. Silence, isolation, regret. And the only audience left is the mirror. And that reflection? It's not the one they wanted. Finally, let's talk about what this means for those who knew them. Because if you've survived a narcissist, whether as a child, a partner, or a friend, you've already learned the truth. You know how they operate, how they twist love into control, how they rewrite history to protect their ego. And now, as they age, you begin to see something even more disturbing. They're not getting better. They're getting worse. And the older they get, the more unhinged they become. Because narcissism doesn't evolve. It collapses. And as you watch that collapse unfold, you begin to understand you were never the broken one. You were the one who saw clearly. And now, the world is finally waking up. Because the mask is slipping. The truth is rising. And the light is exposing everything they spent a lifetime hiding. Thank you for watching. If you found value in today's video, please consider liking, subscribing, and sharing this content with others who might benefit from understanding the mind of a narcissist and the disturbing behaviors that emerge as they age. Remember, you are not alone. You are not crazy. And you are not to blame. You are strong. You are wise. And you are worthy of a life filled with love, peace, and authenticity. Keep going. Keep growing. Keep shining. Because the world needs your light. And you are finally free to give it.